Yo,
We live. What's up,
what's
bro?
good, bro? How you
Yes,
doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. You got like a minimalist background with the light. It's looking
Yes,
real
sir. Yeah.
artistic, bro.
Gotta
Looking
take
real
photos right now.
artistic. Hey, I got started in Toronto? Come
Yeah,
on.
I'm actually in Montreal.
Oh shit. Okay. Word.
Yeah,
What you
but
doing up there?
my girl lives here. So during
Oh shit.
COVID, we're planning on staying in Toronto, and then because of COVID and everything, we're like, okay, cool. I get to work from home. I'm like, let's go back to Montreal.
Yeah,
So
for real.
yeah, man.
Dope, man. Well, before we get started, let's let everybody know who you are. If you could give a little intro for the people that don't know.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Hi, Steven. ICY from the Moonrunners, Toronto, Canada. Been dancing since 2008 or since I was 16, so 15 years now. Uh, Toronto represent, dance hall my background, got into popping. Yeah,
Damn,
that's who I am.
that's it. That's it. And you gotta let them know though, the Instagram, see what I see is the photography, filmography. That shit is dope, man. What you do with
Thank
that
you.
is
Thank you.
crazy, man. So if y'all
Yeah,
haven't
see what
checked
I
that out,
see.
this guy, he's got skills in multiple realms. So,
Right.
yeah, man. You said 2008, so like I was talking to Snap last week, and he started a little bit earlier, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
um, but your background is still dance hall.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I went at dance on popping, I think, relatively the same at the same time, except
Mm.
my influences were more direct for dancehall at that time. So I knew about popping because of I knew about gliding. Everyone was gliding. I saw tapes like Wiggle tapes. Shout out Wiggles. But then dancehall in Toronto, I was like Snap said, I was part of Back to Basics dancehall crew. So I'd be going to jams. I never did a show with them. That's one thing. I never did a show, but every practice, like I had to learn the routines or try to catch the grooves. So the influence was direct. Whereas popping, I was getting it from tapes or online.
Uh,
So I would think about popping, but move with a dancehall essence because that was like in front of me.
yeah.
And then
So
when
dance
yeah
hall was your culture, and then popping was like a secondary source.
yeah I appreciated popping because the intricacy, the illusion of dancehall was like the whole package, the parties, the energy, the battles that were there with the shows, like it was the whole thing. It wasn't like, oh, I want to learn this bounce, this groove from dancehall only. You can't. You tie one thing to you get or you're attracted to one thing in dancehall, the rest takes you. You know, you're immersed in the culture. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So you were going to like jams and like these shows with the
Yeah,
squad, basically.
yeah, yeah. It was actually. I remember I entered a dancehall jam or a dancehall battle. Oops. Yeah.
Oh, there we
Is it
go.
paused there?
Yeah, yeah. You're good.
Yeah. I went to a dancehall battle and did popping and made it to like semifinals, and then like people complained, they're like, "Oh, it's not all dancehall. It was politics," and like I had to be removed out of like that bracket. That was a fun experience because like I didn't know how to do dancehall fully, but I knew a bit of popping. So
Yeah.
for them, they embraced it though. It's like, oh, you're showing your individuality, you know, which is that's
And
what I
then
liked about it. Even if I'm in a dancehall battle, majority of what I was doing was popping feel, but they still took it because I had a dancehall groove with popping.
mm,
Yeah.
damn. Okay, so yeah, so when you were doing dance hall, they were accepting the fact that you were different because the foundation of dance hall was the groove, right? And there wasn't really
Yeah.
much like the politics, like they can't really say like that's not dance hall as long as you got the groove, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. If anything, at that point, I was overwhelmed with like a big crew. I still talk. We're still homies. They're called Mayhem's Finest. They were at the top at that point, but it was also a rivalry of like three, four crews. But it's because of that. Everyone will always know how to adjust or switch their style up or absorb because they had to be ready. Any party that crew could be there, you had to battle. Boom.
Damn.
You
So
had to be ready to adjust. Yeah.
when you were popping and doing dance hall, it was like shit. What was the contrast like in that battle? Were the other contestants, were they just straight grooves? Like they had no popping, or were they doing bruck up at all?
No,
Or
no popping. Some of them were doing tutting.
oh,
And dance on grooves is like this one and like a body wave.
uh,
Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's in dancehall. They were even trying to pop. They were just and then a groove to come back. Then you got the whole
uh,
crew behind them doing that. It was like that. So for dancehall, it was borderline animated. It wasn't brucka or like flexing how we see in New York. It was more like you sprinkle a bit of animation, you sprinkle a bit of tutting, you sprinkle a bit of waving or
mm.
robot, and then you go back to your groove or whatever. So it was a
Yeah,
lot of
it's kind
different
of
grooves.
similar
And
to
then,
popping, right? It's kind of
say
similar
again?
to popping. It's kind of similar to popping, where you could sprinkle in tutting, waving, all that, as
Yeah,
long as
yeah,
you come back to the hit, right?
yeah. So the hit in
Yeah.
this case was the groove. Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah, because it's hard to like do matchups when you have like a big umbrella term, right? Like where the only foundation is like either you got a groove or you got a hit. Because shit, what does that mean? Like I
yeah,
could hit any type of groove. Like it could be a hip hop groove, or it could be it's a very vague kind of way of doing a battle, because you could add anything you want in it. So it's more like almost like all styles in the sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
But the
shit.
essence of it was dance hall. There's guys
Yeah,
doing backflips. There's guys who can do flares, like just randomly. Like that's the culture. You just have that in your ammo. Like that's part of that's your blow up. Then you get up and then you do a group. Like you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
has
yeah,
something that again back to the Mayhem's finest. I still am inspired by them. They would smoke people today. It was like a two guys in the crew, Mayhem, Boneless and Tall Up, and they had blow ups. That was their thing. They're
yeah,
brothers. One of them's like as tall as Monster Pop. The other one's my height. The guy with
yeah,
bone break behind him. His hands will go over him. His brother will
yeah.
push him down. He slides down, looks like a puppet. Like in popping,
Damn.
that was a full round, right? They was missing the pop. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, but then they were still like incorporating stops and like cleanness, right? But it
Yeah,
wasn't like actual pop to it, right?
it wasn't the pop. It was just it was body control. It was necessary for that concept. It wasn't named dime stop. It wasn't named ticking. That the
Mm,
concept is that they're doing a groove and then the song slows down. They do the groove slower. Simple. That's
yeah.
the idea. How do you do that with your body? So you can't go to them and be like, "Yo, I like your chest, like you're bopping." Like it's not. Yeah, it's just you embody the character and then you do it, right? I think that's
Yeah,
that's big in the in it's big in the
yeah,
dance
because
world.
it's like it seems weird to me because the popping, like when you think about popping as like a specific style, it's almost like the workshop should be packed out in popping, because if you're taking like, if you just think about it like body control, then it's like universally applied to any style that you want to do.
Yeah,
But if
exactly.
you bring the word popping in, it has like a lot of like politics attached to it.
Yeah, it's true. And people
Yeah.
and people come to class with those questions too. They're like, what am I gonna learn from popping? Da, da, da. But yeah, I
Mhm.
held a workshop. Even when we held it, like I held a workshop called Freedom of Style. So I titled it that because what I'm teaching is from Tutting or from Brockup, but use this and you can adapt this to your style or whatever you do. Piece it together,
Yeah.
add it to your style, as opposed to change it completely and learn this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of like the future, like we always got to pass down this history and this culture, but we also
Mhm.
don't have to impose it on everybody too.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. I don't know if you feel like this. Like, I've been talking to a bunch of people, Icon and all these people, man. In some way, Snap too. Like, everybody kind of has the same feeling of, I don't know, isolation, or they're met with resistance of some type, where they don't quite fit into any category. You're kind of floating in between because you're not really confined by the dogma of any particular style, but you like a bunch of little stuff,
Yeah,
and but you still kind like you're not a far stretch from a popper, but you could also like flip it to any music that you like.
yeah.
So it's not necessarily funk or like some other, you know.
Hmm.
Um, do you feel like you encountered that in your journey?
In the beginning, for sure, I was
Mm,
taking a lot from dancehall and popping, but I couldn't identify to at that point at least one or the other. I was just like saw information. I have, like you said, you know this, you know this, you know this, you know this. I knew this, but I didn't consider myself that style until I understood dancehall. But I studied, I continued in popping. So
yeah.
I consider myself now a popper. But in the beginning, like we were tutting, thinking we were popping until some poppers in the city told us that you're not popping. We were
Oh.
like, wait, hold on. What do you mean? You got pop with your tutting. What? You know, in the big like that threw us all off in the beginning.
Yeah, so when you were tutting, were you just hitting stops and not like giving it that extra emphasis? Like,
No extra emphasis. The emphasis will be in the concept. Like the concepts will take our mind up or focus away from trying to add a pop, just because of how it was taught to us or what we saw. It was the illusion of, yeah, we'll have like a stop.
mm,
Most we'll have is like a dime stop, maybe one hit. You know, everything else was
just one bang.
one
Yeah,
bang. Let's go
yeah.
down to four little hits. Yeah, like that's
What
it.
was your approach to the music different too? Like, because when I watch y'all, it's more intricate. So you're hitting like you might hit all these in betweens opposed to just being on like the two and the four and moving like this standard. You
Yeah,
might be like thinking and then have like some sort of effect that brings it.
yeah.
That's not really seen too much in the popping world, but it's not technically not popping, right? It's still
It's
can
still
be.
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our influence was flex dance music, dance hall, um, like glitch hop. Remember Edit back then?
That shit
Back
was
then.
that shit
But
was
like that,
smacking, man.
yeah. And in popping, what I liked was like electro rock, just because it had all the little beats in between, and also looking at the people I was looking at that time, tutting wise, they were doing that. They were doing the dance to that. They had all these little bits of pieces of music, and they made it look trippy because I, you know, these boxes. So
So
the music
that was
definitely influenced. Yeah,
2008. You were already tutting, right? Was that already kind of your main thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
Gliding, tutting, and waving.
okay, that's similar to me. I was just doing gliding, waving, and robot. But yeah, that's crazy. So who were you watching back then? Like in 2008?
2008. A lot of flexing, a lot of flexing. But how I started watching them was like the order was basically Wiggles tapes first. Because actually, funny story is, you know, Cocoa Pops.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I found him on SoulSeek, like someone was sharing the Wiggles tape on SoulSeek, and he was the one who sent me the video. I was
Oh
like, oh,
shit.
and he was doing glides, and that time I was practicing it because I had a friend that taught me it, and I was only practicing it. I couldn't do like some floats, but then when he sent me that, I was practicing more. So watching all of it was basically all Wiggles, and then from Wiggles, I from gliding, I found out about tutting from his tape. And then when I looked up tutting, I found out about Tiny Love and Hypno. I think that he was from New York as well. And it was cool because I'm seeing weird stuff and I'm seeing them like sick. And then that led me to seeing flexing. And that's
Mm.
where like it blew my mind because Wiggs had the magazines and it was almost like his Egyptian style was dope, but it was this whole care how he went about it. That was like, that's sick. But then these guys are doing a style where how they go about it, yes, but then even they're doing intricate angles. And they're taking these Egyptian angles and bringing it to the middle to Bruckup, which is what I was
Mm.
listening to anyways because of the party. So I started watching flexing. New
Yeah.
Era. New Era was like a big influence, like Liquid, Cass, and Kool Aid. Those specific
Mm.
because they were in the same crew, three different styles, and I think like they influenced a lot of people. Definitely influenced me. That's when I started like from tutting to connecting. I started doing
Uh-huh.
that
So
2007, 8.
how would you differentiate those two, connecting and tutting? What would you say the difference is?
The way the angles are broken down. Now, I think it's, for example, you see icon, Tetris, geometric. Like I was watching those guys too. I was watching those guys and I was watching flexing. So like it was literally
The perfect.
both. Yeah, it was like that information together blew my mind because Geo, icon, they were doing tutting outside, and once they got inside those 3D boxes, still, but connecting, they don't have to do boxes all the time. You can take a box and it can turn into you pulling your shirt. You know, you can take the concept had to do with your body. You know,
Gotcha.
so it looked different because I can always see a break. If I do a box and I turn my head, it's like
Jeez.
you see the move and the concept live right there. Icon
Yeah.
and geometric, they were teaching me, or what I was learning from them was the grid, the straight lines, the continuous angles, continuous box, right? So it's a
Yeah.
continuous box with a continuous idea, and then you put them together.
Yeah, it's stylistically, from somebody that's like uneducated on it, it would look all like tutting,
Yeah,
But
of
then,
course.
but they do have really distinct feels, like way different. And you'll see similarities even when people are hitting traces and flexing and stuff. And you see actually like more of these angles, like these ones as well in
Yeah,
flexing, I feel like. But then you have yeah, all the stuff where it's like the effects, the imagination, where it's like a mime. There's like a
yeah,
focal point that's traveling around. They make it and they can pull it out of somewhere, keep it over there, or throw it over, catch it.
exactly.
Um, and the other guys you mentioned, like Geo, Tetris, like when I used to see them, it was like forever boxes, continuous
Yeah,
folding, flipping, fixed points. But they never really like the only time they would come out of it is when they would do like a wave and then they bring out into
yeah, yeah.
another
The
cut.
the wave was like the universe, the thing that patched everything together.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I see that in the Bay Area a lot too, a lot of those guys.
Yeah,
I don't know who they like all of their inspirations are, but like if you watch somebody like Strobe, uh, he'll do that wave just like Tetris. It's like he does like a crazy tuck combo. It comes down into a wave and then back up. I
yeah.
think like Chonky does it too. A lot of the guys do
Donkey,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I mean, they have Far Side over there, and plus it's the Bay, so like their influence can come from millions of places and people. So, but they got a
True,
lot of
yeah.
people. Yeah,
True, yeah. Farside was already ahead of his time too. And Farside, there's Jay Smooth. A lot of those guys were like doing some really intricate touch. Future as well.
future for
All
sure.
those guys. Actually, it's a crazy story. I was in I was just like a party head like in high school, right? So I think I was maybe 18. I had just graduated,
Yeah,
and one of my friend's cousins was going to Cal State Fullerton, and it was like, which is like 35 minutes from me. And she's in a sorority, so they were having this big party, and we rolled up, and it was like in this basement of like a, I don't know, like a one of those. It's one of those like communal rooms in an apartment, but it was in a
okay.
basement, and there was a DJ, and it was just like a normal party. But I saw these two guys there, and this is before I knew anything about popping, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
these guys, I was just like, I had seen dancers before, like when I was in high school, it was more like crump and turfing. So I had seen people try and pop and stuff, but I saw these guys spin like, I mean, I had probably watched them for 30 minutes just doing fingers, and
yeah.
this is 2008 or 2007. And, I was like, who, like, in hindsight, I was like, who was that? Back in that time, there's only a few people that were really doing it
That's
like that.
wicked.
So, um, I hit up Future and Jay Smooth, and they told me like that was them, and I was like, oh
So
shit!
you were
And
right
it
there.
was
That's a trip.
yeah, it's a trip because they were I believe they were getting ready for Just Debut.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so when they
That's
paired
wicked.
up, yeah,
So
so
when
they
you
were
saw
like
them,
sessioning.
you walked past them. You didn't say anything to them.
well, at the time I didn't know shit, you know, so I was just watching them like, damn, like
Yeah,
what are these guys on, you know?
that's wicked.
And it was just in hindsight that I was just trying to reflect on history, but I remember that moment. It was kind of like a seed. I just couldn't even understand how somebody could like comprehend like doing all those moves in
Yeah, yeah.
synchronization. So,
That's the
but yeah, in
fascinating part of it.
hindsight, I only knew two guys like that were finger tutting in that area at that time, and it was Future and Jay Smooth. So I hit them up, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember that party." I was like,
That's
"Oh,
wicked.
what?
Yeah, yeah. Who
So
I was
crazy."
thinking like I don't even know who kind of influenced that to get to that realm of those infinite. I don't do any finger like this is the most you'll get out of me. And maybe this
Yeah.
one, maybe like this one, but like I don't know who innovated that because here when like Snap Story when we met at So You Think You Can Dance, there's a homie that I met that day. His name's Ken. There's actually an old like runner's video. He's not a moon runner, but he was just his angles and his fingers were sick, but like you'll get in the video. Um, but I met him, and he was looking at people from Brooklyn and like Farside in them, and I just never knew who came. And he was doing all those angles, intricate boxes, infinite boxes, in like a grid like this.
Mm.
His name is Ken, but I just don't know. Now that we're talking about it, and you're saying you saw that at that point, like who came up with that style? I think
Well,
Tiny Love has something to do with that.
Tiny Love for sure. D Strange is another one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Also Jay Smooth. But Jay Smooth was learning from Confusion, I believe.
okay,
And Tetris was a big part of that as well. But this is like earlier 2000s, like early 2000s.
yeah.
Then actually I was tripping out because Tiny Love definitely has something to do with it. But Keenan was showing me this video of this guy. I believe it was like 2007 or something. I gotta be correct on that. But he was in the subway and there was this guy. Um, I don't know, man. He just like he was just this dude and he called out Jay Smooth on it. So he like made a video
Oh,
towards
I know what
Jay
you're talking
Smooth.
about, Twan.
Twan, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that guy was crazy. Crazy
Twan and
level.
Monster Hands. Yeah, those guys. Yeah, no, they're on a
What
different
year was
level.
that? That was crazy as hell.
2000 and that's me before Machine. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that guy was bananas. When I saw that clip, I was like, oh, damn. So there have been people that were obsessed with the finger tutting before it was even a
Yeah, I
thing.
was watching those guys, and
Yeah.
actually, I got a lot of inspiration from their ideas, from fingers to connecting, because their
Mm.
idea was that connect. They had the video out at that time, like 2007. It was like a random. I don't even know where I saw it. I don't think it was YouTube, but it was like it was named like Fing Fing Fong or something like that, something weird. And then you just see like a VHS or a camera in like the alley or the street, and the guy's just like, yeah, it's just Fing Fing Fong. Like he's just creating all these boxes and the same concepts we do out here, he did it in like this range of motion, pulling, push, taking his finger, uh, you name it, they had it, but like all in here. And that was like 2007. I think that was like Machine, Monster Hands, and Monster Hands. So Twan and Monster Hands, they were doing that. That was 2006 or seven.
Do you
Something like that.
think do you think that sometimes when there is less, I don't know how to say it, but like when there's less that's already been invented, I was watching actually like old taco clips this morning for a
Yeah,
class I was teaching, and it was like tacos, shrimp, and I was looking at it breaking and entering. So it was like 1983,
yeah.
and like these guys have only been popping like 4 or 5 years, and they're like master level, you know, like master, like
It makes
they
no
still
sense.
smoking everybody right now, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm like, so 4 or 5 years plus, there was no workshops, there was no online shit. I was just
No.
wondering, like, how is it possible that these guys got that good? And part of my theory is like, well, one, it was being invented as they were doing it. So there was no kind of like, oh, this is difficult, this is not difficult.
Yeah.
They were just in the zone in the lab creating. Meanwhile, like it was also kind of a life or death situation in the sense of like that was their culture anyone on the street like could battle them at
Yes.
any time. So they
Correct.
were always ready, you know. But so they were creating for every day basically because they didn't know
Mhm.
when the next one was going to come. Now we're like we have infinite amount of resources, infinite like yeah, we just have so much and we're trying to do so much that we can't actually even focus on one thing at a time
Yeah,
anymore.
I
Do
agree.
you think so?
I think it's yeah, we have access to information, but what you have to know how to do too is digest the information. Yeah, there's everything. Okay, which one do you start with? How much time do you spend in? And it's not like there's a fine answer to each of those questions. It's just all those things can slow down the process for actually digesting it and applying it. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. There's every video that's been out like could be found somewhere on the internet. Like now, before you can find it, you have to search further. But now it almost feels like it's instant. You know,
Yeah.
Google tells you how fast like, your search came up, like 0.00. I think it's even faster now. So it's like I could learn a tuck combo fast, and I might get bored because I'm thinking already about something else before I start
Yeah.
dancing. Like today, you know, there's another party dance that came out yesterday. I gotta learn this. Forget this. I'm on that. It's
Yeah.
easy to just take. You apply, you do it, and then it's over. Like you go through it so fast. Like even the thrill of like learning it might be hindered because it's just too much information.
Yeah, there was the idea that like you really cherish something when it was given to you, like an idea. You were like,
Yeah.
whoa, and now you got to learn how to harness it. Like you got to really know how to like, and then you start to flip it and like manipulate it. But it was just piecemeal, one at a time. And then also part of the theory for me is like there was also the folklore of it. The stories were passed down by just people speaking about it. So the
Mhm.
imagination could run wild, like because we already know like how people tell stories, like oh
Yeah.
yo he just fucking yo he lifted off, dude. He was levitating and he was like ticking while he did it, and you're like, damn, oh shit. And then you like try and imitate it, but
Yeah.
it's just word of mouth.
Folklore. I like that word. That's how Monster Pop described it.
Mm,
That to
yeah,
continue like our purpose, among other things, is like to continue with this dance for the idea, like for the sake of folklore. Like let people talk about it, you know. And because of that, everyone's gonna add their own little twist on it. It'll make it that much more uh, interesting or like enticing to look what happened, where is it? Like just the way they talk about
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
imagine like there's only one real event that I've been to where they didn't allow any cameras. But what do you think if they stopped allowing footage?
I think that'd be sick.
Yeah.
Definitely needed to still have things captured. Just the people who run the film or media section of the event have cameras and ciphers, and let the event take care of it. You know what I'm saying? They decide
Mhm.
or whatever, but as long as it's captured. But it's
Yeah.
true if everyone has a phone, then everyone in the cipher, everyone is it's on. Imagine like everything's captured and it's gonna be released yesterday before you
Uh,
even get home. So
yeah.
it's like I don't even want to see what happened. Everything's already there. But
Yeah.
if there's no footage and then something comes and then something, it's like marketing 101. You give them the piece, but like there's a folklore aspect to it. Like what?
Yeah.
Someone told me about
Imagine
this happening at the other side of the room. When is that? Oh, like
that'd be tight, man. Imagine if they had like an epic event, say even like a jack of all trades or something, and then they
crazy. Yeah, no cameras.
yeah, no cameras, and then they said, okay, yeah, we fully documented the event, but actually we're only gonna release the footage after 2 years. So you gotta be there like and then so you have it for like documentation's sake, like, oh,
Yeah.
this happened in, in 2018 or whatever, but like 2 years, people just not even gonna be about it. So they're gonna have to come.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Like what? There's no. I don't think there's anything bad from that. There's already information that people still have to do the homework on from years ago. Like you're not missing out. That'll be perfect. I think that's needed, especially
Yeah.
now. There's more big events everywhere. You know, before it was like one big event and then many. Like not everyone can throw It's almost too easy. Like obviously, give or take, but it's like it's too easy. It can happen anywhere. So like
Yeah.
the spontaneity of it is gone.
So what do you think about the shift to like right now? It's basically mandatory online events, right?
Yeah,
What do
I
you
think
how do you
that's
feel
good.
about it?
I don't mind it because we don't have anything. Like now you're defined. This is all you have. I just think it comes to someone. You got to manage your time. Like for me, I can't keep up with all the events online because in between all those things is everything else. Okay, I know
Yeah,
about like 2 battles going on online right now, and after those are done, I follow something else. But I think it's still getting people connected, so it's necessary still.
yeah,
Just if everything goes back to, or at least we can come in contact with people who can throw events. Less of that. No jams online or battles online. Maybe contests or like for prizes and stuff like that. But that'll just be
yeah,
too much.
yeah. I was thinking it. I was a little scared, like, because I feel like sometimes, well, at least online, it makes way more sense as an organizer to build a lot of following online, and like it's way easier to get a sponsor for online traffic than it is to get like a physical sponsor.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary in the sense because it feels like, man, we might have a lot less events coming up because it just doesn't make sense as a business, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess people have been throwing battles uh, not for money for what, 2 decades, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
maybe it
Exactly.
won't change either. So
I think you still need human interaction is still needed, right? Part of the even me. I don't feel connected. Like I don't feel connected to these battles online, just because that's just me, not because of them. Just I need to I need to see you in front of me. The exchange, the conversation. So I think that is still a part of it. So I don't think it'll ever get lost. I just think it's necessary for now. Once battles come back, we can have live events. I don't maybe integrate that with your online presence for at least businesses.
yeah, or you could have like a bunch of crusaders, basically, like of the previous generation, where we hunt down all the internet.
Yeah. What is it?
Be like, oh, yo, you won that battle online. I saw
Yeah.
that.
What's up? Yeah.
It sure was good.
It was easy, right? Okay, cool. Because we commented right here. Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, you pull it up,
People
pull it
like,
up,
yeah, yeah. It's printed,
screenshot it.
pen and
Like,
paper too. Like
I seen you on that live. Look, I got a story saved.
recorded. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that'd
Oh
be
man.
crazy. So, like, when you were in 2008, you said New Era was the inspiration, right? Like, they were a
Yeah.
big one, and you said it was Liquid, Casper, and Kool-Aid.
Yeah, there's more in the crew. Punch, AJ.
Mm,
There's a few other. They weren't connecting. AJ was doing a lot of what they call now pausing, but like basically animation. Guys, these and like his dime stop looks sick. Um, but yeah, they were the crew I was watching. There's a lot of other crews too. Collateral Damage, Main Event,
yeah. The what
MMA.
about? Were you inspired by LPC at all?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I saw those. Like I saw, I forgot who it was. D Strange probably.
Hmm.
Um, and it was like he had like an Adidas long sleeve top. I don't know, but he was just doing liquid.
Yeah,
It was
there was
crazy.
Eric too.
Eric, yeah, yeah,
Eric was a
he
lot
was
of
in.
people's inspirations. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, definitely watching them because they're my formula is like taking tutting and using waving to connect or to piece into a groove or piece back into a concept. Watching LPC was I liked it. I liked it. I dig it because it was deep. It was like that was a glue to what I was trying to do.
the
Especially
transition, right? The wave.
yes, how do I do dance off to popping? And then I watched Liquid. It's okay. there,
Oh
there's
shit!
the answer. Yeah,
So that's kind of how you saw it, was like dance hall, and you had dance hall and popping, and then liquid was the kind of
in
the
the middle.
bridge.
Yeah. So it kept
Shit.
those three, and I would watch Liquid. I would watch dancehall. I would watch popping, and I would notice bits of each in each style, but seeing it like that, or that's the equation to put everything together, or having that into the mix of my style. I felt like it'll be easy to get in and out if I choose to have my mind like that, you know.
Yeah, because like liquid is not necessarily like it doesn't require you to stop any groove, right? So
No,
it,
exactly.
it can just layer on top and blend into the next thing.
Yeah. How do you go from a body groove into an angle? You know, like at that time I didn't understand. I would stop and then I'll do it because in flexing I would see a lot of connecting and then they'll talk and taunt to people and then take someone's hat and then go back. So the
Mm.
transition was literally like it was like acting, it was like showmanship. You know, I
Mm.
appreciated it, but I wanted to add I wanted to continue the energy I had in the last concept. How do I do that? I don't want to just taunt. I like it. Oh, waving, perfect. Yes.
Damn, that's hella crazy, man. Like to think about it like that, because I would never have put those two, like the liquid being the bridge between dance hall and popping. But
Yeah.
I mean, in the same sense, like liquid was definitely something that was a big influence on me. Uh, but I wasn't. I mean, I definitely wasn't bridging the gap from dance hall, but um, the idea of like waves and tuts was something that I was always fascinated by.
Mm.
Um, whether it was Tetris or like when I would see people do deep waves, I'd also see angles, you know? So I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, there's, what do they call it? They're not exclusive. They're, they're actually like, um, what would you say? Cohabits. Like they are one in the same, you know,
Yeah.
almost.
That's like that that formula with the Fibonacci sequence. It's like a spiral, the same shape or geometric shape found in nature or
Oh, like the
nature's formula.
Fibonacci sequence?
Yeah, yeah. There's a
Mm.
circle, which is the wave, and then in each part of the wave, there's boxes. It's like it continues. Those are one of those gifts that kept repeating. It's like the spiral kept going, and the boxes
Uh,
continue to fit.
yeah.
It's like this is perfect. As soon as
Yeah.
I found out about liquid, it made everything click. I'm like, all right, I get it.
Okay, so now the question comes, so when you're developing your style like this, it's like, did you feel like popping was limiting you a lot? Because I always felt like the pop was like a real, like I had to really force it when, because my style was more of a flow, like with waving and tutting,
Yeah,
and I would add stops in, but it was like it was more of like a change in angle, you know, so it would go into something else and then stop, but it wasn't like like
yeah.
it didn't have that hard essence to it.
It limited me, but I think it's how I was processing all the information at that time. When we were learning, or when I was learning the pop, it came to me. I was told like we're cool now. A homie named Neil Boog. He was like
Mm.
Electric Boogaloo family. He's Frank Boogie student. He was the best at the time, you know. So it's like I'll take what you're saying, but you're just telling me to pop with my tut. At that point, I'm like, it's all flow. Which part? I can't ask him about connecting or tutting because he doesn't know, but he's telling me he can see that I have no pop or stop, you know.
Mm.
So having been learning that at that time, and then just being told that for popping, I was like, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how to break this down. Now I know it's possible to do both. It's not limiting if it's like if broken down right. But at that point, yeah, that actually pushed me away from popping. So what the fuck? What does this mean? Here's
Yeah.
here's a world that just accepts you of dance hall and connecting, and there's infinite concepts. There's parties. There's this. It's like there's everything going on. There's girls in this scene, and in popping, you just tell me to pop hard. Yeah, one sec. Let me just. Let me just. I'm just gonna. You want me to pop?
Just-
Okay. Yeah. What?
Damn it.
It was
Yes.
comedy. It
So,
was
but like, this is such a common theme, right? There's something about like, ah, man, it's like the popper vigilante that's like, you know, it's gotta be traditional, like it's gotta be,
mhm.
and I understand because to unify like or to define a culture, you kind of need like a foundation, but um there was always this like lack of acceptance, you know. It was kind of like the tone that was being used
Yeah.
was like, that's not it. And you're like, what do you mean that's not it? It's dope. Like, it's
It's dope.
dope. What are
Oh
you
yeah.
talking about? It's not it.
Yeah,
So
man.
I don't know if it's just like the tone that the traditionalists use, but uh, meanwhile, because like I know Icon was heavily affected by that, and I actually know probably everybody, even Tetris, like Geo, they just stayed on the fringe of the community because they didn't ever feel quite accepted, you know?
Yeah. I felt I didn't feel accepted, but I didn't care. Part of what I was learning was also, oh, you don't think this is dope? Okay, yeah, watch. We're gonna battle. Show me how dope. Like if you're gonna tell me to do it, show me. And I got that from dancehall and Brucka, but also ball. I was playing a lot of ball at that time, watching N1 mixtapes, and it's like that attitude of, yeah, you can dunk, but I'll cross you. Like I don't even need to score. You'll
Uh,
lose, but you're still gonna get smoked. It made sense to say that and to have that arrogance in yourself. To be, okay, cool. Like I don't know how to pop. I'll practice, but you also don't know how to top. That's
yeah,
I think that mentality didn't let me uh, feel down from that. You know what I mean? I didn't hear that, oh, I can't pop. Oh, fuck this. I don't want to dance anymore. It's more like, all right, watch.
mm,
But because of
yeah.
that mentality, yeah, work on something
Dang.
else in the meantime. Because popping's hard, really. It's not
Yeah,
something where he could have just said, if I was popping and he said, do a tut, and he does this, and then I do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
yeah,
When he said pop, I'm like, I didn't even know where to begin. What? So I think it's also because the style's hard. The approach can change, yeah, but it is a hard style. So at that time, everything else I was learning had more behind it of a meaning than something I have to break down first before I can even like really dance. Like, where do I start?
yeah. Oh man, it's like it's such a catch 22 because sometimes I just want it to be all good. I want it to be you know, everybody's accepted and feels welcome and but then there's, you know, this also motivation and the resistance too. You know, when I'm coaching somebody, do I am I supposed to be soft on them or should I be hard on them, you know? And it's the same when you enter into this world, you kind of like, okay, if it was all accepting, I don't know if the innovation would have, like, would you be where you're at without that confrontation of like, let me show you what's up, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But I think it was still needed that you're not popping. I needed that. Actually,
Mm,
from the age 12 to 19, I was in Army cadets, and that's the way they taught drill. It's like once you're in, if you want to learn, this is how you do it. This is how it's done. You have to do it like this. You have to. This is how it
mm,
is. We accept you, but this is how to do the process. And from there, then you can innovate. From there, then, but the drill, you have to repeat. You have to keep doing the basics. You have to do repetition. So I took it like that, right? So I still think it's needed, especially now popping it. I feel like we understand it more than at that time. Globally, we understand it. Even some
mhm.
people who don't dance at all cannot even understand what popping is. Um, so it's like I still think it's encouraged to not be soft. If you even with especially with the homies or people that want to learn, you have to tell them it's hard. You have to tell them there's a learning curve. You have to tell them you have to get your body to. You have to because that's just a part of it. There's no it's okay. Everyone can do it. No, not everybody.
It's
It's
not gonna
hard.
be that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need that just because
So
that's
if you
realistic. Like that's it.
yeah, if you had to go back in time to that moment where like maybe you felt like almost excommunicated in a sense, right? Like a feeling of what would you tell yourself at that point?
Well, after hearing that.
Yeah, when you said when you heard you weren't popping, like what would you tell yourself?
Uh, I would think, I mean, in that case, I would think I definitely wasn't, but I'm like, I want to have a conversation. And what is it?
Mm,
Versus like Daniel's commenting now, what makes sense, what he's saying is in battles, which had happened, it's like where I thought I was, or enough at least, and then someone does it the whole round, but only that. That's what was confusing, or it hurt as a crew or individually. What I'll tell myself is just practice. That's it.
Mm.
You got to be undeniably dope. Then make it that much more clear.
Mm.
There's some assholes out there that would, or judges that would don't know, or they're biased. Yeah, and practicing won't change their view. But I think at that time, it's just go make it that much. And that's what Daniel would tell me, that people in the crew would keep telling each other. The people who wouldn't pop, when those situations would happen and they see, like, yo, we just gotta make it that much more obvious. Then we go to the lab and like all battle, practice, and then come back and then prove our point more. Because that's what it was. It would hurt. We'd talk about it, or there'd be a battle or something like that. But end of the day, make it that much more obvious.
So you would calm the doubt of the younger you. You would just be like, yo, just hey, go hard in the paint and enjoy the process. Like, you
Yeah,
just make it
learn it
undeniable.
better than the person that told you to do it. So he said you're not popping. You got to learn it at least better than that guy or girl. Yeah.
Learn popping better, or learn how to do what you do better.
Well, because at that time we were already like it was like it was easy to practice what we're doing, especially where I had the crew. Whatever I would come up with connects, or somebody would have something better the next day, and then someone else. So that was already in rotation. That's in motion. So that was automatic. But the popping wise, it's like a select few of us would pop. So I would tell myself to like practice being better than the person who told you, because
Yeah.
especially then I needed to practice that. If I
Yeah.
would do house or someone would do hip hop, I'll have to be. I can only count myself at that point to practice popping. Well, Sean was popping too, and Paulo, but he was making it. Like, that's another thing. Paulo, he was making it because he had like ticking, popping. He had the glitch effect, the animation, even the popping. That was like his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he had that down pat.
Yeah. And when did he come into the picture? Was he in 2008 or 2009?
2009.
Oh, okay. Damn. So
Yeah,
you guys were already like formed in that stage, and that's crazy, man. Because I think my theory on that is like, if you want to become dope at something, you kind of have to join a conversation of people where you're all oriented in that path, you know?
yeah,
See, I started to realize like through these interviews and stuff, when like, for example, you and your crew is like, you guys were innovating so much in a short period of time, and it was just like one person after the other, and like tutting was your language, you know?
yeah.
And then so for me, like, I was reflecting on like, well, shit, what was my language? As far as what would make my friends go, whoa, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and who I was chilling with a real diverse crowd. I was chilling with like introverts, where we were just like nerding out on some like real like detailed liquid stuff, or like animation, like just looking unreal. Like with Tableau, it was like, okay, like robot with like really weird timing on the music became the thing that would make him go, whoa. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like the language that we learned to innovate in,
Mhm.
with that community. So it was like real glitchy kind of timing weirdness, you know,
Yeah.
almost like a robot that's plugged into a jukebox.
That's
Uh,
wicked. That's
yeah.
sick. Yeah.
So we were just trying to figure out different ways to like impress each other, basically.
Mhm.
Like I was always in the back, like Tableau's still in my head, where I go, when I do something, I'm like, oh yeah, I could hear him go, woo, you know,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So
That's
when
wicked.
you have all your homies in your head, like you have Sean and everybody, and it connects.
Yeah, yeah, because that's what it was. It's like you get a pass from them, or you have to check your power move, or you have to check your concept, or even your groove with the homies, the guys who understood it there. And if they said it's dope, it's a wrap. Because at that point too, it was like we were like battle heads, so it's like you gotta rely on them to let you know that you're prepared for, or whatever. You know, like this, they approve. Sick, okay, this is wicked.
Yeah,
It's still, yeah, I still think about that. We still send each other videos just because of that. Yo, check this out, and then it stays there, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Damn, that's so dope. Because you basically end up. That's why I always think like home is a state of mind, you know, and home is the homies as well. So when you think about when you're traveling or you're not with them, they're still with you. So
Yeah,
even when you're getting down, you could. The more you've gotten down with them, the more you can understand. Like they're the ones that are co-creating your style. It's like you guys aren't the same at all. You guys are each unique individuals, but then like your the community that you've built is your container. So like when you try something new, you can get the feedback that they've
yeah,
ingrained in you.
yeah, exactly. Good
So I
point.
think it's super important, man, to like for anybody that's coming up is you got to join a conversation with the people that you think
Yeah,
is like doing dope shit.
that's it, man. Yeah, keep the conversation going. Like if back on also inspiration, like yeah, New Era and all those guys were my inspirations, but like the crew at that time too, because it's like I would have ground moves, but someone had like Daniel has leg strength, Snap and Sean, like I would get smoked every time, you know. So I would have to practice that. So it's like even stepping away from what I'm used to or what I'm doing to think about that taking that thinking of the homies and also can I beat the homies with these guys? Like if I look
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
can I also beat them with it? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sick. If they
yeah.
come up with new stuff, I'm like, all right, yeah, like I still beat you. Now you're back here. All right, good. Let's do this again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, you have to it's almost you gotta be saying something relevant.
Yeah.
You gotta say something interesting. You gotta bring something intriguing to the table because like at the end of the day, you're just trying to be heard like everybody else. So
That's it.
like if you just on some like repeat, like I'm not hearing you. You know what I'm saying?
No, no, and that doesn't fly. And they
Yeah,
need to be told that doesn't fly.
yeah. Like you could talk about some shallow stuff like, oh, like it's a nice day out today. You know, that's how I feel. Where like some people just don't want to dive deep into the style or really dive deep into themselves to create something
Yeah,
because they're not used to talking about deep things with people. So you have to dive deeper. Like you have to have that conversation with people.
you have to break down even what they're thinking before they even move. I think that's an important part too to understand the idea of the mind behind the movement because you can take something and like from the outside it may look the same, but then when you're told to do something else from that base, you don't have anything. You don't have any foundation understanding. You can't talk about it, and you can break the idea and open up the idea, right? So
Yeah, I mean that reminds me of the first time. Well, actually, this was the first time we met, I believe. Wait, so I was trying to remember, but I met Snap and Sean, um, and I think it was Frequency.
I think it was
I
there.
think,
Was that
but it was
CSUR
it
or
was in
Montreal?
Montreal, like in the mountains.
Yeah, I think frequency was there.
Yeah, you weren't there though.
No, no, no. Oh, that
Yeah,
that the time they were judging, right? I think it was frequency. Frequency,
yeah,
Sean, Snap.
yeah. And then I remember meeting them there, and then you guys came to my pad like I don't know if it was maybe a little bit after that though.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot
and
what
then
year.
yeah, I think it was 2000 like 13 or something, 14.
I think
Because
so.
it was the same time you guys went to Wiggles crib too. You guys were
Yeah,
staying with me, and you
Wiggles.
saw Pop and Taco as well.
Wiggles. Yeah, we stayed at for a bit, half of that trip or a part of that trip. We stayed with Devious actually.
Yeah, at the
Yeah, his
dojo.
house. Yeah, at the
Yeah,
dojo. Yeah, we saw the dojo.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it was 2013, 14. Mhm.
yeah. That was crazy, man. Because like that was actually the beginning of my Tut journey. Because
Oh
I had
shit,
come up, yeah, I had come up like
that's wicked.
like I had come up around like Tetris and Devious and um I was just a fan really, and then I was
Yeah,
watching footage of you guys and the Turfers and like Flexers as well. But I was just a fan of watching it.
yeah,
If you watch clips of me like when I was first starting, I might throw like one angle in, but I never really like tutting as a style, you know?
That's wicked.
It's so crazy, bro, because like I remember exactly when it was that it clicked because I was like mad tired. It was like school and like Snap passed out on the couch and then you were up and you were like, "Yo, you wanna
Yeah,
I forget exactly what you said, but you wanna tut a little bit or you like want a
yeah.
session?" I was like, "Yeah, word. Let's." See, I was like, I can't really tut though, man. I'm gonna be honest.
I remember
And
that. Yeah, like, oh, whatever, let's do it.
yeah, you were like, whatever, let's just go. And I was like, all right, yeah, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then yeah, man, for me, that was like the moment where I was like, because I had already looked up to you guys. So when you were like,
respect.
you're, yeah, you were already like, oh yeah, man, just like just keep going. And I was like, oh shit, okay, it's okay to tut then. I'm getting validation, like,
Yeah,
so I was like, all right. And then I always felt like when I was tutting, I was like, there's no way I could keep up with these guys and angles, like no way. So I had to figure out like to say something even remotely relevant, I had to add like animation or waving into it somehow or
mhm.
a combo to like at least catch ups, like to even be in the conversation at all,
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
guys were on already some crazy shit, like
yeah. We were heavy on the concepts at that time.
yeah, fuck, man, it was so dope though, because then we had those sessions at the school too, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
Frantic
yeah.
came through.
That was wicked.
Yeah, man, that shit was so dope, man. And then you guys have Poppin' Taco's number, man. I was like, man, I've been living in LA. I've been popping. I'm like in Long Beach, in the hood of Long Beach, learning, and
That's
he lives like
wicked.
not that far from there. I
I
was like,
couldn't
I
believe
never
it
even
until the
seen
moment.
Poppin' Taco.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't believe it until the moment Snap I got off the phone. I think he got the number from, I think it was Hugo. He
Yeah.
spoke to him online. I even know Snap spoke to him. So it was just a bunch of question marks like, wait, what? Yeah, I got his number. What? Calls him up, you see Snap on the phone. I'm just like, yeah, we can be there tomorrow or something like that. I'm like, got off the phone. He's just like, yeah, that's it. We're gonna see Taco tomorrow. Like, what the fuck?
And
Just
like
like
just to let you know, like at that time, like to see Taco, you had to know somebody, right? So you had to
yeah,
like either know
we knew that
Hugo,
much. We knew that much.
Hugo,
It's like,
yeah,
and
Hugo or
little
Kid
time.
Boogie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but man, you guys came back and you were like, fuck.
Yeah, blew our minds, man. We even practiced. It was just like, what? Like, we saw the guy.
Tacos, dude.
We had to
Yo, this is
process.
this is about to end. I'll start a new one real quick.
All right, cool.
All right.